Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. We are on the eve of another Grand Arena, so that means it is time for our roster update. And the rough structure to these videos is we're going to go over any major unlocks or working towards any major unlocks, in this case, progressing towards our next Galactic Legend, and then general improvements as we work towards getting ready for this Grand Arena and addressing any weaknesses within the roster or making progress towards the raid. And the biggest thing that was just going on in the game was the Galactic chase for the Comeuppance. And this is a ship I did bring to 7 stars. Now that is not the most efficient use of your crystals, because I did do a couple of the 400 level refreshes. The best thing to do is to just go through the 200 crystal refreshes, but I did have some conversations about this on the Discord, and the way that I think about something like this is what is optimal might not always be what is the most practical thing to do with the roster, because one of the things that's going on right now, and you will see this in a moment, is that I don't really have a lot of competing avenues for my crystals right now. This chase was the one thing that's going on, and farming Grogu, who just became farmable. Otherwise, I don't have a lot else competing for my attention. So I started about 22k in crystals at the start of the chase, and that came down to about 16k at the end. And I did pretty poor during my fleet arena during that period, and I was kind of finishing off 1 to 200 crystals a day. I was doing a bad job of climbing up into the top 5, which I normally do. I just would get distracted pretty regularly. But the argument that I made for doing the extra refreshes is if you're getting decent drops and it's not going to take too many extra. Like for me, I only did the 400 level refreshes twice. I did get lucky on the daily energy, where on 2 separate days I did get fleet energy as my daily energy. But the argument I made, even though it's not the most optimal use of crystals, is that right now I'm not distracted. Whereas in a month, when this is added to shipments, even though that is per shard cheaper, I'm also going to be working towards Keller and Beck. I'm probably not going to be done with Grogu, so my crystals are going to have a little bit more downward pressure on them, and we don't know what CG is going to do in the meantime. So what I felt like I was doing was buying the opportunity to be done now. And that may not be practical for everyone, but if you do have the crystals and you have hoarded them up like I do, then that is one of the advantages of being able to build out that hoard, is you have the flexibility to do something that's a little bit more expensive. You get to buy those opportunities and overpay for them. And that is why I do advocate a lot of hoarding, even though there is a little bit of an opportunity cost where I'm not actively using a lot of my resources to improve my roster on a regular basis. It's also why in these roster update videos I do so much, because for like the couple weeks that it's been since the last time I've done one of these videos, I've just been hoarding, which is allowing me to do a lot within each one of these videos. And now I don't need to think about the comeuppance anymore. I'm done. It's maxed out, other than finishing the pilot to relics, but each of the abilities resources are done, no longer a thought. And I can move forward knowing that my crystals and my resources don't need to be dedicated towards this. I'm done with something. And now before we get on to the characters, just a brief look at this spreadsheet where I track this stuff. I tend to show this in every single one of these videos. First column here, this is all the gear and resources I need for Mandalorian related characters. The relics here, just general characters that I'm interested in working on. Right now it's Moff Gideon, Kylo Ren Unmasked, Ezra, Afra, Malicos, bringing them up to Relic 8. This is everything I need to get Lord Vader. And then this is what I will need, and this is important to prep because of how expensive it is. This is for Mandalor Bo, Darth Bane, the resources I will need to bring them up to relics once I have them. This also includes Lord Vader and Jedi Master Luke up to Relic 9. Now in this specific instance, it's been a couple weeks since the last time we did one of these videos. I tend not to do any gearing during the off week between Grand Arenas, and that's given me a couple raids and the opportunity to basically get caught up on almost all gear. Like, there is no gear here that I am in deficit. Everything in gray means those are pieces where I am in surplus surplus of what I need. Only thing we're really looking at is signal data and relic materials, and relic materials really not that bad. I'm getting closer and closer to being actually finished for what I need to get Lord Vader. Now, Lord Vader's a little tough, but what you can see is that in terms of the Chirotex, which is here, that's the only gear piece where I'm not fully done with, but I do have the Chirotex I need to take my Lord Vader requirements up to relics. That is something I'm considering today, and then I'll just be behind on Chirotex to get Lord Vader, Darth Bane, Mand'alor Bo up to relics. I'm gonna need 500 more of each for all of those things, but I'm not gonna have those characters for a couple months, so within the time that it takes me to get those characters, I'm definitely gonna have the Chirotex, because the signal data is the big problem. Signal data is going to take me probably at least another month. I was kind of hoping to be working towards Lord Vader this month, but it does seem we're 1 to 2 months away. I haven't calculated it, but at those quantities, I'm probably 1 to 2 months away from starting to farm the tickets for Lord Vader. So the big character project that we're working towards right now, that a lot of the player base is working towards right now, is Mand'alor Bo, and we do have a lot of progress that we can address here. First is Paz Vizsla. The farm is complete on him. You may have noticed that when I was talking about the Comeuppance, his crystals are no longer being competed for, so that's saving me about 75 crystals a day from not having to refresh his node. And it means that we can do a little bit more with the character. I think this first week though, now that he's 7 stars, I'm going to leave him at gear 11 just to see if he's a more effective tank at this level, and in a week we'll take him up to gear 12, maybe relics, and start seeing if there's improved things that we can do with him. Since I'm farming shards still for Grogu, Kelleran's not farmable yet, rushing to relics isn't really going to help me out in any way, but we can take Grogu up to 4 stars as well. That is something that we were able to do during that week, a little over a week that he's been farmable, but we won't be touching any of those resources. Kelleran, he's already at gear 11, Zetas are already on him, but we can't do anything with his character at this stage. But you can see with Mand'alor Bo now, we're making some good progress. Everyone's at that gear 11 staging ground that I do advocate. We could technically bring Mand'alor Bo up to relic 7 right now, but I think what I'm waiting for is I want to have these Mandalorian characters at 7 stars, do a little bit of testing at these lower levels on these characters, see if there's any viability there, then we'll take them all up to relic 7 as they are required for the event. Because that is the biggest priority of this channel, is trying to do the most with the least. So that addresses the big major character that we are working towards the unlock. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long with Datacrons. I am definitely going to go after the Mandalor Bo Cron, hoping that the event returns again sooner than later. Probably unlikely, but we have been able to get a lot of benefits with my roster, preparing Crons in advance, like that you saw with Princess Leia. Even though I didn't get the full 2 months or whatever of Datacron use, we did get 1 month, and that's pretty good. Now, the next major thing we are going to work towards is I am going to take these Lord Vader requirements up to relics. There's a few reasons to do that. One, we're entering 3v3, so that means a character like Tusken Raider is going to improve the quality of my squad, although this is not cut and dry, because I do like that Tusken squad. It does cause problems, and it definitely gets holds partly because opponents underestimate it, seeing the gear 12 characters and not taking it as seriously. So this actually may become a less reliable squad, taking him up to relics, but I think we're going to do it anyway, just because players are also more comfortable taking on Tuskens now that they're a little bit more universal, at least within the Kyber levels of the game, or the Kyber 2, Kyber 1 levels of the game. So we're not really going to catch a lot of opponents sleeping with a character like this. But I think we don't have a ton of signal data right now. We don't have all of the relic materials that I need, so I don't know if we're going to take all these characters up to like relic 3, but I'm thinking maybe relic 3 right now across the board. We probably have enough for that, but yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, at least to start. We may revise that as we go through this process. But that completes Tusken for now, and that means the next characters are the Bad Batch. And this also has the benefit of, one, it's Conquest. Sector 5 right now, you need clone wins. This is going to help reduce, or not clone wins, you need clone kills. And that is going to help this team be a little bit more reliable in serving me in Conquest, but also because the Marauder is a fantastic ship, and it is highly valuable. So being able to make that Marauder fleet much more reliable has a ton of value. So this is time. Now, I left them at gear 11 forever. I left them at gear 12 forever because they are awesome at low gear. This is not a squad you should be ignoring if you've ignored them. They are good at gear 8. So if you're holding back on them because you don't have the Kairos, don't. Put in Zeta on Echo and just use the squad. They are going to be fantastic at those lower levels. You are depriving your roster of a valuable weapon that even at gear 8 might be enough for being a go-to cleanup. And go-to cleanups, those have value in their own right. If you haven't seen the Bad Batch trailer as well, those trailers always look good. They've gotten trailer making down. They just need to get better at making these shows. Although Bad Batch in general has been pretty solid. I forget which of the 3 Bad Batch characters are the pilots to the Marauder. I'm sure it's like Tech Echo Hunter, maybe Tech Hunter Wrecker. Something like that. But we will take these characters up to Relic 3 for now, feel it out from there. You can see where my crystals are right now after territory battles paid out. I'm going to work up to 20k again, and that should be enough for now. And then I'll be a little bit more aggressive in spending them again. I think by the end of this 3v3 season, I'll be back to 20k. Definitely after the payout, because we're getting 2k in crystals in Kyber 2 every Grand Arena payout, or at the end of a Grand Arena season. And I think the other 2k, as long as I'm finishing in the top 5 in fleet every day, I should be able to get the other 2k in the 3-week span. And then take this up. That will make that fleet much better. It's a fleet that I have really enjoyed using. It can beat a lot. I'll probably look at some of those mods pretty soon because I've left 5 mods on these characters. They definitely deserve more. Yeah, Echo's not the Marauder pilot. So when a character is not a pilot, then they have reduced import in prioritizing them to taking them up to higher relics. Like I've tried, when I'm looking at where to spend my resources, I'm looking to put the most resources on the characters that are helping me out in multiple places. Even though Echo is really the linchpin of the Bad Batch squad. But right there, all the Lord Vader requirements now at relics. I think that's going to be enough for this week on those characters. We don't have the signal data, we don't have all the relic materials, but that is a big boost in the quantity of relics that I have on my roster, which is going to help a lot of my roster performance, especially because I could have done this a while ago, but I wanted to be careful with Kairos, and I just really liked showcasing how good they were without relics. So this era of being able to really show how valuable of a tool they are as a squad, how much they outperform their level of investment. That era is over. It's a little sad, and same thing happened with Troopers. Troopers are another squad that vastly outperform their gear level. Really, I think the only one left now is like Night Sisters. They are probably the last remaining squad that vastly outperforms the gear level. I guess Phoenix is now with Krex has joined that status. Now we've addressed the major unlocks and our GL progression. Now we're looking at the other characters within the roster where I want to improve on weaknesses. Now one, I didn't think I was going to do this at the start of the day. I think I'm going to do it now. It is Dr. Aphra. I'm going to take her up to Relic 8. This is something I've budgeted for. I've got the resources for it. And the reason I'm going to do this is she's really, you take her out of an Aphra squad, the squad falls apart. She's very vulnerable, she's very critical, and because in 3v3 we don't have the support of Omicrons, having her at Relic 8 is going to help reduce some of the variability in this squad, but also we have an Empire Kron coming that might just negate my ability to use Aphra up against Lord Vader's. So I think boosting her up right now at the start of this season, maybe it's not going to do something, but it's definitely not going to hurt. So we'll do it now. Really probably should be BT1, but we're going to go with this character first, and we might do BT1 like in a week. And then there's this list of squad characters here. These are the characters that I want to keep beefing up and improving. This is where I keep track of all the characters that are currently some of my weaknesses that I want to strengthen or address. Some of this I could update a little bit, like I'm satisfied with Kanan and Barriss right now. They could be off of this list of characters that I'm tracking. But there's a few others that I want to look at, like Starkiller. I'm not going to take him up to Relic 8 right now. I do want to, but I have been for a while considering bring some additional Omicrons on him to beef up what he can do, since he's been a one Ami character for so long. And Force Repulse is what I'm going to do. This is one I would continue to not apply if we didn't have the Galactic Legend currency now. Omicrons are a little bit cheaper than they used to be, so I think I am going to apply this. You don't really need it. I've been fine without it. It does help. I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself out of it as I go. Kind of talking myself out of it right now. Because I only have a 132. Really, I can only apply one Ami, and I don't feel like this is going to be it. I'll get around to it. I think instead we're going to add one to Third Sister. These are less debatable as being valuable. These are clearly good. And between the two of these, like Reckless Sweep is a very nice one. It's really just a cooldown reduction on Reckless Sweep, whereas Driven by Revenge, this works with Held by Hatred, not Held by Hatred, but with Hatred. So this is going to be the Ami that I apply right now. I don't know if I want to go below 100, but this might be where I leave it for the moment. And maybe next week we'll add another one, but you're going to see me much more regularly applying Omicrons. I'm going to get a little bit more into luxuries. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon is a very solid character, but he's not actively working me towards anything right now. But I haven't really felt like I've been able to get too much out of him at Gear 12. So I do think I'm going to take these Kairos and improve him right now. You can look at the spreadsheet if you want to see how much I had at the start of this video after applying several of these on a number of characters. This was like at 800 at the start, and I was over 1,000 on these at the start. So we'll take them up to Gear 12. I'm not going to do anything else from here. Not going to apply any of these. We'll take a look at a couple Datacrons here. I'm set up for one level 9 Cron. I'm hoping for Beskar Mando. Let's see what we get. IG-12 Grogu, you know, that could be interesting, but it's not one that I'm going to be able to take advantage of for the next several weeks, maybe in a month. And I don't have the reroll materials, so I guess I'm going to have to deal with it. And then here we'll take a look at this one. No, not this one. The level 5 one. Let's roll another level 6. This is a light side. Hopefully it's a Mando one, because I am still going to work to, yeah. Good enough for now. I think that's all I can afford at the current moment. Now, what I'm going for out of this set, just because when you look at a roster like mine, this set of Datacrons, it's a little bit more like whale food. I think there's plenty of good faction abilities. I'm going to get a bunch of these Empire ones. I'll get a bunch of the Mandalorian and Rebel Fighter level 6 abilities. Those are going to be useful, but in terms of the level 9, I'll get Beskar Mando. When you look at the rest of these, I don't really have a roster that can take advantage of these. I don't expect to have enough of these characters at Relics in order to field a squad, to put the Datacron on, and it's would be a diversion from the active projects that I'm working on to take a number of these characters up to Relics. I'm thinking about it in a couple instances, and if we find that some of these, like the Dark Trooper Moff Gideon Cron, for instance, if this turns out to just be this powerhouse of a Datacron that's taken on GLs, then I probably would prioritize that one. Because that one I've got a portion of the squad already at Relics. He's a character that I was going to pair with Maul or other characters down the line. He's already a pretty good character. That one is worth considering to me. And then I'll probably look at something that's related to Mand'alor Bo. I'll either grab this one or I'll grab some of these other ones, like maybe I'll just keep the IG-12 Grogu one. Because by the time I am ready for Mandalor Bo, which will happen in the next month or so, I will be able to field, I will have a squad that will be able to utilize some of these Mandalorian Datacrons. But when it comes to some of these other Empire ones or some of these other Rebel Fighter Crons, like, I don't really have squads that can really take advantage of these. Like Jin, I need to add another Rebel Fighter to throw that on Radis. That's probably worth it. I just need to make a decision about which Rebel Fighter that's going to be. And then some of these other ones, like Chirrut is a nice one, but like I could either throw Chirrut with Radis, or I'm looking at building out a Saw squad, which is not happening this month. So a lot of opportunities here that is going to be for a different style of player than myself. And we wrap it up there. I'm looking forward to this 3v3 season and looking to what CG is going to bring to us next. I do feel like we are due for like the next progression within the game. Because I'm now getting to a point where I'm feeling somewhat caught up, and I have a lot of momentum behind my roster with how quickly that I can build out towards new content. That if I'm feeling like that, that means spenders probably have a lot less to spend on. CG needs to be adding something to keep this game alive so that we all can keep churning towards whatever comes next. But thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.